fiddling with all these different syllables, but it just made isosceles. But are words to use. Fiddling with all these different syllables, but it just made isosceles. But are words to use. Welcome back to the podcast, people, where we gather around once a week and discuss everything in games. What's hot, what's new, what's old. Depends what really there is in our schedule to do. Welcome to Console Me Gaming Podcast, or CMG Podcast. I don't know which one we're going with right now.
It's both, isn't it?
No, it can only be one, Gary. It's like Highlander.
Only one.
But, you know, let's just get into it. Let's get to the news. And let me just change the page. Gary, tell us how your day was while I go into it.
Well, my day was pretty average.
Average? What happened, Gary?
I managed to finish off.
That's enough from you, Gary. Now let's go into the news. Do you know that Ubisoft will be working with Elijah Wood, his production company Spectre, and they're doing a virtual reality game? Does anyone find that really odd?
It's the first I've heard of it.
No, found it today. Literally, that just broke today.
Wow.
It's his production company. They've actually done quite a lot of different sort of films so far, but I don't know why they're doing a virtual reality game with him, but I don't really know what to expect from it.
It sounds like a Shia LaBeouf project.
It does.
It does.
That is actually one of the things I thought when I saw it.
But
I was just like...
Do you think Elijah Wood's as crazy?
No.
No.
He's jumping on the crazy hype train.
Into the sun.
Everyone loves you when you're crazy, so I'm going to be crazy in VR. That's just a short one. There's nothing really we can discuss with that, because again, it's just something that's been announced. There's not really much to it.
What would you hope it would be?
Frodo Baggins Simulator. Farming.
I can't find my rings.
We're doing each stage, bit at a time. And unfortunately, the first stage is just farming. And the people who make Farming Simulator will just be, oh my god, no!
I wonder if it's like, his gangster...
Ubisoft, you're coming after us!
I want like his gangster ultra ego. Was it like Frodo Swaggins?
I've had enough of your shit, Frodo.
The options are limitless with VR. Another one as well. There's been quite a bit of Nintendo news, so I've just kind of narrowed it down to...
So we'll just gloss over that.
Yeah. But there's lots of talk about the NX, and
yeah.
There's apparently, according to analysts, it's Japanese analytical company, like a marketing company, and they've said that they think that it's going to be released in 2 stages. We're going to get a portable section of the NX this year. I think what they're trying to do is blend the barrier between what they've had with the 3DS and what they've had with their Game Boys, essentially, and their actual home consoles. So they're releasing the portable section of the NX this coming year, supposedly.
Is that a next generation Game Boy, or is that just related to the console?
That's the thing. I think it's going. The 3DS could be connected to the Wii U, but only in the same sort of way that you could do for years with like GameCube and stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering what they're going to do to really bridge it so that it's practical, because they're already getting into the mobile market. That was their big announcement earlier in the year. Was that they were going to be moving into mobile games territory, and they did that Pokemon thing.
Yeah, the VR one. Yeah,
well, it's not VR. It's what's the
augmented reality?
Augmented reality.
Stat Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
It's an interesting idea, but
it looks the trailer looked amazing.
Yeah. It did. But again, you've got people in like New York gathering around the center and be like, "There's a giant Mewtwo in the sky,
fighting Mew."
In real life, they would be hit by a taxi.
Or no, there'd be 2 people in the corner getting excited,
holding their phones in the air, going, "Attack!"
Yeah,
whirlwind.
Yeah, and everyone else just be getting on with their day, going, "Don't look at the freaks, honey. Just keep walking."
I'm just imagining like the UK equivalent. You got people like the Yorkshire Dales standing in a field in front of beautiful limestone landscape, holding up a phone and screaming.
Here, Pikachu. Leaf swirl. Wrong elemental love.
Go
Vaporeon.
Going to some natural history sites looking for rare Pokemon.
God, I found an odd shit Stonehenge. Just imagine that you've got people there and it's like, now please be quiet for the memorial. Pardon. The people in the cinema screaming.
How inconsiderate are you guys at the Pokemon Company? Jeez.
I'm hoping it is just so random that you're going to be in a random... It's like, this is a funeral, son. Dad, there's a Weedle in the corner.
I'm gonna catch it.
Oh dear.
God awful. Nintendo, guys.
Yeah.
Man, yeah.
Pushing
But
boundaries.
So handheld this year.
handheld this year. Next year, we're going to have the full console. Although one of the rumors is it's going to be 900p. I know.
Oh, 900p. I thought you were going to say $900.
No, 900p, which...
Is that even a resolution?
Exactly. Exactly. I should specify resolution, not cost, in British.
That's not our default piece that we're thinking, Craig.
Japan,
Bad form.
Japan messed up the conversion. Yeah, that's so. They're already playing catch up.
I love that. That was just a useless guy. You know, it's like
Do you know what they generally need to do? They need to just do what everyone else is doing, get the PC architecture and put it in a white box. Yeah. That's what Xbox is doing. That's what PlayStation's doing.
Not really. Didn't work so well for Steambox.
Yeah, and that was a literal expensive computer though, and a smaller box.
Nintendo have got their eShop and everything like that, and
But there's these. It's still all archaic versions of what there already is.
Yeah.
Like they're online and everything's still so far behind.
I mean, they've always had their gameplay down. That's what I said last week. They've always had their gameplay down for their titles, and to a certain extent, the way they look doesn't matter. But by being so far behind the current generation, they're locking themselves out of so many third-party games, which is a problem.
Yeah. They also announced, Sega also announced for the 3DS that they were doing, it's another collection, but it's like remastered to be properly done in 3D, you know, using the 3D effect that no one uses on the 3DS, except for Mark. And it's another collection that will have Power Drift, Puyo Puyo 2, Fantasy 2W, Sonic the Hedgehog, Thunderblade, Galaxy Force 2, Altered Beast.
oh, what?
Classics.
Was that like 1984?
Classics of the Sega era.
Yeah.
Sega Mega Drive.
That's all they do now is they just like it's only notable things when they re-release really old stuff.
No, Alien Isolation. That's Sega.
Was that Sega?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good
and all
one.
the Creative Assembly stuff.
That's a good one. There's some good ones there.
Yeah.
There are.
I don't know why Sega own Alien. It's a really weird legal direction.
They bought it. Was that before Colonial Marines?
No, before
was-
Colonial Marines, because Sega published Colonial Marines.
Yeah. Don't look at Mark's face. He always has this really sad look on his face when you mention Colonial Marines.
It's like that blankness in his eyes.
Yeah, dark times.
Yeah.
Made him bleed.
Before the dark times. Before Gearbox.
Respected PC racing simulator, Assetto Corsa, will arrive on April 22nd, 2016 on consoles, Xbox One and PS4. It's another sim racer we're getting, just like Project Cars and stuff. Which, when I saw the name, I did just think it was a Corsa simulator. I've been informed by Dave, our driving expert. It's more than that.
It's the whole box of wine.
Every Corsa. My God.
Get the Vectron pre-order.
Also, to add to all the Japanese craziness with the release of Street Fighter V, they're releasing not one, not even two. There's like 5 or 6 different PlayStation 4s. They're all being released.
Ones, yeah,
and they're all different sort of designs and art on them. And they do look really good, but none of them come with a game.
Really?
Yeah, you buy them, but you have to buy the game separately.
Brilliant.
Although this is Japan that made the Hot Package pack, where you get sexy versions of characters.
Sexy
Only
Ryu.
I know.
Give him a beard.
Yeah.
That's all it needs. Sold. Every character with a beard, including the women. 2016, people. Let's be open-minded. And then, as well as that, we are also getting a bundle, but that's about it. We're just getting the standard console with a bundle because Japan gets all the crazy stuff. Which is interesting because that is one of our exclusives. I always forget that Street Fighter is, when you don't count PC, a console exclusive for PlayStation.
Yeah.
Since they bought that. Herb is giving Mark the finger as we speak. Was it
Fingers.
Fingers. Ooh, went for the classic. Went for
Not
the
flipping him in the bird.
Victory, mate.
But yeah, there wasn't
half an X.
To be honest, with the a lot of the actual gaming news got drowned this week because there was so much film news. So
Yeah.
there wasn't really that much. Notable stuff coming out, though, in the next week or so is Life is Strange, which is finally getting the physical release and limited edition, which I'm really interested in because it's got quite a cult following now. Even though I've not seen it get the same kind of praise, it's the Telltale Games framework.
Yeah.
Yes,
But even though
Square Enix.
it's Square Enix, even though it's managed to get a cult following, and supposedly it picked up steam. It had a bit of an odd start, but I'm tempted to give that a try. I think as well, it's not
So many
expensive.
puns.
I
It
know.
picked up steam.
I know. He doesn't even realize he did that.
I know.
No.
We got a release. My little Craigie, it's going to be such a big bear.
Resident Evil Origins Collection,
Yep.
which will relate to what we're doing. But other than that, there's not really much, unless you want Pokemon Rumble World and Zombie with an I on the end.
Zombie.
Zombie Eye.
Or Zombie.
I just want to talk more about Pokemon Go.
I know that sounds so good.
We'll just think, if anyone is still listening, you can put in the comments whatever location you think it should be.
What location would you find
Zapdos.
Zapdos.
Where is Zapdos?
Yeah. Where would Zapdos
You actually go to an electric power plant like in the game. You can't go through
It's
this.
so dangerous in here. Why are we here?
Dad, he's in the generator room.
Son, no!
Yeah, great enough to just merge it with Mr. Meeseeks. I'm Pokemon trainer! Look at me!
Tonight on STV News, a boy has drowned as he swam out of the coast.
He saw a Lapras.
Chasing a Magikarp.
His phone was recovered. Sorry, his phone was recovered. He did not catch it. Pokedex forever doomed to be incomplete. But speaking of Pokemon, Gary,
Yeah.
what is our topic this
Before we
week?
jump onto
Yes.
that, quick thing, it's worth noting a few more games are going backwards compatible with Xbox One. Most notably The Witcher 2, which is free until
Which?
February 5th.
I like that. Wait, oh.
Which is free.
Is available free.
That's why Mark's the smart one.
The only thing is, if you're struggling to get it, you have to, because they've not worked out how to buy Xbox 360 games on the Xbox One. You have to go into Xbox.com to buy it or to get it free.
Yeah, no,
and
that's-
then you can just download it onto.
We get the
Xbox
same.
One.
We get the same problem with PS Plus as well. If it's for your Vita, you can't buy it through your PlayStation 4. You have to go onto the website to
Website.
get everything.
Yeah.
the same.
Or purchase it on your PS3.
Yeah,
That works.
Oh, you have to go to
or
the
the-
native console.
Yeah. And Deus Ex
Human Revolution.
Revolution
It's
that's
still
on-
available.
is still Games for Gold. Again on the 360, so it's definitely worth picking up if you've not played it.
Good.
Checking it out.
Check that out.
So, Gary, look at you!
Look at me. Okay, so moving on to the main topic of today, we're going to be looking over probably one of my favourite gaming series of all time, Resident Evil.
A retrospective.
It's a retrospective
With our resident expert.
of Resident Evil.
A retrospective. Every time
Keep up, Craig.
I just want to keep it and see if we would keep looping. Resident Evil. A retrospective.
Oh my god, he's stuck in a loop. So yes, with the recent release of Resident Evil...
A retrospective.
Can I continue, please?
Okay, go.
Continue. 10, 9.
So with the recent release of Resident Evil 8 Zero HD...
I didn't say a thing. Why are you looking at me?
What's your
Mark's idea.
Can we stop?
Continue. Gary.
Nah, I'll continue. Okay, so yeah, recently released Resident Evil Zero HD, which is part of the Origins collection.
I didn't do anything.
First of all, you should probably go into the structure of how we're going to do
Yeah,
this.
so what we're going to do is we're going to go over my review of Resident Evil Zero,
which luckily is chronologically the first,
first
story wise.
Yeah.
Luckily.
luckily, and then we're going to go through
Use of luckily.
and then we're going to go through each of the games, like main sort of series games with special kind of mentions to the Revelation series and also Code Veronica. But I've got a list of pretty much 23 games that were in the Resident Evil series.
Gary, if we don't like it, we will literally shoot it down initially and we'll just continue on.
Yeah.
You should also mention...
Oh yeah, but no, like I think what we'll talk about like the main series ones a bit more in depth, but I will mention like other things as well as we go along.
If you don't like Resident Evil, this one's just for you.
Yes.
Tune back in next week for more Pokemon Go.
Should we just scrap this and just go to Pokemon Go?
I think we should all get Pokemon Go.
I think I'm excited to get Pokemon Go when it comes out.
So much anecdotes.
There's no Pokemon in Resident Evil. I finished playing Resident Evil 0 today. So it was my first playthrough of that for a fair few years.
And how long did it take you to complete?
About 6-7 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's quite a while.
There's a couple of things I'm going to go into later which kind of hindered that, because originally I had this kind of sort of set playthrough for Zero, and because I'd unlocked like infinite ammo for my Magnum and rocket launcher and stuff like that, so I could just breeze through it. But there's something to do with the inventory system, which I'll get into later, that's kind of hinders it a wee bit when on your first playthrough. So this is a HD kind of remaster of the GameCube original, which was released pretty much about 6 or 7 months after the remake of 1, all done by the same team. But originally this title was meant for the N64 back in the day. Le day. And so if you can go online and see like some of the old early things, but it was obviously the limitations of the cartridge hindered that, and then which increased their development time, and then next generation consoles came out, your PlayStation 2, your Xbox, and your GameCube, and they're like, maybe we should just get on it with that. So yeah, so they've used a lot of assets from the original remake to this, and like if we're going to presentation of the game looks absolutely astonishing in HD. It's really well done. But the great thing I've always admired about Resident Evil is the pre-rendered backgrounds. For like even the PlayStation back in the day, like it made the games look really, really good. And it's the same with Final Fantasy VII as well. Those kind of like beautiful drawn 3D backgrounds, and which means
horrible pixelated figures inserted into them.
pretty much. But
Popeye characters.
So limiting like sort of polygons and stuff like that to just the character models and stuff like that, which means that they could like really focus on like sort of making the characters look good in this environment, and the fixed camera angles as well can help that with Resident Evil. And so so this HD re-res, like pretty much they redid every single background of this, which is astonishing, like to take on that, and obviously the release of the remake as well.
Yeah.
So it looks absolutely fantastic on the new consoles. Characters have been touched up. The atmosphere of the game is
Intense.
Yeah, it's really like it brings back a lot of memories, like playing through it again, and it is it's just like drag, dreary atmospheres give that kind of sense of terror. It's a different sense of terror than Resi 1, which you mentioned.
That's what I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
When the remake of Resident Evil 1 came out, because I played the first Resident Evil on the PlayStation when I was young, 8-9 years old or something, and by today's standard, it is extremely camp. It's horrifically voice acted. It's like it's
a
got
B
some
movie.
It's got some genuine scares in it, but overall, it's it's a bit of a joke. But the remake was absolutely terrifying to me because it was reliving all the things that scared me as a child in much higher detail.
Yeah.
Like the first encounter with a zombie, that head turn and the dripping blood, like it terrified me because playing Resi 1, whenever it came out, I was 12 or 13. Absolutely terrified me. So I never managed to actually play it. Didn't finish it for a number of years. But then 0 came out after that, and it's it's a different kind of terror. It doesn't have the Crimson Heads running at you and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But
It's more a lumen atmosphere to it.
Yeah, it's still, it's got a great horrific and I love horror games, I love horror films, and it had a great atmosphere to it. So that was the first Resident Evil I really actually played properly. Was 0. So
yeah, it's very well. 0 was the first one you
played properly. I mean, I'd played 1
you never
and 2.
finished the others.
Yeah, I never owned them. After I was terrified by Resi 1 as a child. My friend had 2. My friend had 3. I played through bits of them with him, but I never bought them. I never played them because they terrified me. It wasn't until I got past that with actually 0 that I got past that.
Excellent.
So 0 is the first I played myself.
Yeah. Awesome. So so like I said, the character models have been kind of touched up. The thing I really noticed playing through this new one is that the enemies have been done up as well, and it is I don't know if they've changed some of the character models and made new ones, because I don't remember the prototype Tyrant looking as good as it did, and it just looks grotesque in this new one, and it's every time I encountered that boss I was like, oh, this looked gave me those kind of shivers again, which was ace. So as far as presentation goes, this game absolutely nails it, and they did it with the remake and the remake HD, and they've done it with this as well. So kind of moving on with this onto the story, following Bravo team who were sent in to look at these grisly murders that happened in the Arklay Mountains. You're following Rebecca Chambers, who's Bravo team's medic. Then so you're examining this crash site, and you see that there's a prison van, and you find this pamphlet for who's going to be your partner, Billy Cohen, who was an ex-Marine who was jailed for killing 23 people.
But you should say so. It's a prequel to the events of the original Resident Evil.
It happens one day before. Yeah, and this game takes you through all these different locations, from a train to a research facility to obviously a laboratory, and everything in between. And it builds up a kind of it adds a lot of kind of sort of backstory to sort of the creation of the T-virus. One of the founders of the Umbrella Corporation, James Marcus, and what happened with him. You see William Birkin and Wesker working together, and I mean, that was kind of huge, because you'd had Resi 1, Resi 2, Resi 3, Code Veronica, and then I think it was Resi 1 Remake and 0 after that. So you had all this time to build up that Wesker was this kind of big main kind of antagonist, and you kind of wanted to learn a bit more about his history. And this game gave you it. The only problem I would say is that Rebecca and Billy as characters, I'd say, they're weak.
Quite flat.
Yeah, quite flat, and they're quite weak compared to obviously the likes of Jill and Leon and Chris. And so it's a good story, but it's not kind of.
The characters don't ground it.
Yeah, don't ground it, and it's.
Is it the same voice act? Is the same audio from
same
the
audio,
original? Okay.
Same audio and everything like that. The audio hasn't been touched up, and yeah, it's they're.
They let it down a bit.
Yeah, they kind of let it down a bit, but it's not actually a really memorable Resi story as well.
You can check it or leave it. That's the thing as well.
That's why I understand it. And the reason I like it so much is because it has that first Resi that I managed to beat. I got over my fear and
so you have
pummeled those zombies.
Yeah, nostalgia.
You have that attachment.
It's complete nostalgia. So I definitely will pick it up and play it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. So moving on to the last little section, gameplay. It's classic Resident Evil gameplay. It was the last Resident Evil before it kind of changed into 4 and
it went over the shoulder third person.
It took that big action turn. Puzzles in it are they're fun, but not kind of too challenging. But when you do figure them out, you got that little sense of
the click.
Did it. They've got a new control system as well, which makes it a lot easier for new people to come in and pick it up and play because. Well, it's not the way I play it.
So is it not turning on the spot or something?
It's not the axis sort of
It's not
movement.
the axis. It's not the tank controls.
Yeah.
But that's. but
Every person controls like a tank.
But like that's how I play Resi, and it's the tank controls and the camera angles kind of do date the game, but it's not. But that's how I remember.
But that's why you play
Yeah.
classics, though. You don't want there's no point in updating a classic and changing the way it plays because that's
Yeah.
what makes it a classic.
It was a game of the time.
Yeah, definitely was, and so a lot of good memories about that game, and it was kind of like Capcom's sort of last hurrah before they decided to really kind of change
Change the formula.
Revamp the format. Yeah.
revamp the formula. But it was a good note to end out on. Like overall, I'd say this is a great revisit to the last classic Resident Evil, but with weak characters that doesn't hold up the story, but it doesn't make it as good as the original remake, but it's still an absolutely it's a Resident Evil game at heart, and that's what charms me about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
So finally, how many Craigs out of Gary?
Oh wait, before you continue though,
yeah.
what was the issue with the inventory system? You said there
Oh
was an
yes,
issue with it.
yeah. Thank you very much for bringing that up. I don't seem to have had that in my notes, but I do remember it. The inventory system in this, you have two characters, and this is one of the main game mechanics is character swapping.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you switch between the characters on the fly. There's no item boxes, so you can't store items in. So you'd have to leave items in certain rooms, and so it made for a lot of pointless kind of backtracking.
Yeah.
Each character only had 6 item slots as
And
well.
to drop things down holes or chutes and things.
Yeah, it's yeah,
But that was,
It's not what you want.
It's-
part of the game mechanic, though, wasn't it?
yeah, it was part of the game mechanic, which I loved when I got into it, but at the start, I remember coming across a puzzle and I was like, I need this item, but I've left it all the way back in a certain
Yeah.
and just going back and then picking up an item that I need, but my inventory is full. Both characters' inventories are full, and I'm just like, what do I
It would have been
leave?
fine if it split into
Quest
sort of
items.
yeah.
Yeah.
Inventory items.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I think that was the only thing. That was the one thing that kept really kind of annoying me.
Wee gripe, yeah.
It was a wee gripe, but yeah. Apart from those things, it's really good. They've added a couple of extra modes as well. Well, they've added one new mode, which is called Wesker mode, which basically takes out Billy and replaces him with Wesker.
I want to know how that works story wise.
It's still Billy's voice acting at the top of it as well.
so easy.
Yeah.
Just a reskin, and it's called a Wesker.
It's a
ultimate
reskin.
Wesker.
Yeah, it's like he has the
super speed.
and stuff.
does.
Yeah, you can
Jesus.
You can,
But he doesn't have his own voice.
You can cover distance really fast, and also you can pretty much charge up an attack.
One Punch Man.
Pretty much, yeah. Charge up an attack and take out a lot of zombies in one go.
But he still
yeah.
has Billy's
He
voice.
still has Billy's
That
voice.
is such a massive oversight.
It's just lazy.
It's
Let's
just-
completely
it's just
change him,
lazy.
but
Yeah.
let's not bother with the voice.
Yeah, and they've also got the other mini game. This one was Leech Hunter, which was really fun. It was much of a challenge, is the fact that you pick up leeches, you had 100 leeches to pick up, and
Medieval medicine simulator.
100 leeches to pick up. So your characters have got 6 item slots each, so 12 in total. But you would slowly lose item slots when 20 leeches got into each one, and then they move over to the next one. So you slowly lose items as you're going along, and so you'd be left. So the last one is okay, well, I need to either have a gun to fend off things, or I need health to survive this until I get the last leech.
Or I
So-
need leeches.
Yeah, yeah.
More and more leeches.
So I remember playing that, and I did quite I did quite enjoy it. It was added that little bit of extra tension towards the end of the end game, and it was a good fun mini game. But then when Resi 4 came out and gave us, Resi 3 gave us Mercenaries, but Resi 4 really perfected it.
Yeah.
It was good. Yeah. So yeah,
So, back to our patented rating system. How many Craigs out of a Gary?
I think Craig's out of a Mark makes more sense because I'm probably half the size of Mark, so I'm like a 0.5,
okay,
and
so-
Mark is definitely like a 1. So how many Marks and how many Craigs to reach the total of?
Come on, Gary. Give us your rating.
Yeah,
I'd probably say
and you have it to reach 17.5. It's the maximum. So how many in between do you make? Irv is 3/4.
What?
Maybe
I'd
2/3.
probably say in between Irv and Craig.
Out of 17, but that's incredibly low.
6 out of 10.
Round about 6, 7.
Gary's getting so stressed.
I don't know. You're barking orders at me and I'm trying to process
He
it.
clearly didn't read the email we sent with the chart with the infographics telling him how to convert
I
it.
spent days on that infographic.
Mark made a Google app where you could convert it. So now in currency you have like pounds, euros, dead currency like the punt, and then you have
The punt.
the shilling, and then you have Mark and Craig and Irv, and you can convert it into regular scores in currency.
This is needlessly confusing.
I missed the punt.
I love it when a 50p has a hummingbird on it. Ireland.
Moving swiftly on.
Swiftly on. So, as this is a retrospective, we're going to be going through.
Retrospective. Yes, Gary, continue.
Yeah, as this is a retrospective.
Retrospective. Resident Evil retrospective.
Just in case anyone forgets what we're doing.
Going through games in chronological order, and
So next we will be going from
next-
0 to
0 to 1.
Code Veronica! Oh,
He was waiting for it. So,
words before numbers.
so Resi 1, cast your minds way back to 1996.
Are we talking about this and the remake together essentially?
Yes,
Because
yeah.
there will be
the remake,
comparisons.
and then the remaster, and then the HD remaster.
Yeah.
Mobile phone friendly 3DS version.
Resident Evil Go.
Oh god, the zombies!
Oh my god, there's a tyrant in my kitchen.
Oh god, she's a zombie. That is not a nice thing to say about your dead grandmother. She's
Leave Doris alone.
it's
Too real.
It's awake. So dark.
So, Capcom, if you're listening, there's an idea. So, yeah, cast your minds way back to 1996. Resident Evil 1 was released on the original PlayStation. And it was inspired by an original Famicom game called Sweet Home.
Alabama.
Sweet,
And the
Sweet
song
Home.
in part.
Sweet
So,
Home,
yeah.
and was also inspired by Alone in the Dark as well, which is what we
Yeah,
consider
yeah.
like the
The precursor.
Yeah, the precursor of it. Like, so say like
Alone in the
Wolf.
Dark came first.
Yeah,
Wow.
Wolf and I think Alone in the Dark was 94 or 19.
That was still PS1 though, wasn't it?
No, this is like really it's PC.
Alright.
I think.
Something.
Yeah. So, so like thinking like Wolfenstein was like sort of precursor to Doom. Alone in the Dark was kind of the precursor to Resident Evil. So, director of the helm Shinji Mikami, horror mastermind.
And now he just makes mental games.
He really does make mental games.
Yeah.
But he was originally worked on like Goof Troop
Oh, yeah.
and Aladdin. Like remember the Aladdin?
First of all, that Aladdin game was huge.
It was amazing. It was so good. But I was so I was just like Shinji Mikami was part of that? Wow.
know.
And then to go from that to Resident Evil. So
Which, to be honest, though, is pretty silly.
Yeah.
When you really look at it now, it was scary at the time when you were a kid, but now when you really look at it, it's so hammy.
yeah. Very, very, very hammy. But it's got charm. It has a lot of charm to it.
Yeah, I think it was one of the first games to have like the Red Book audio, like the CD quality audio and all that. as well.
Yeah.
Where's he one?
Yeah, and they used it to the full extent with that voice acting. Wow, with that voice acting.
Quality performances.
I was always so stunned with the intro videos, like they had the live actors doing it and stuff like that, and then the scene where they go into the mansion and it kicks into this like rock riff. It's like introducing the cast: Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine. It's so cheesy.
No, where have you gone?
Blood
everywhere.
But it's not Chris's blood. So the original one, probably considered this granddaddy of survival horror, but what really made that game very sort of tense and horrific was like the kind of signature jump scares that it had, the inventory management, limited ammo, limited saves, and with what they did at the time, the atmosphere was quite dreary and stuff, and the locations were really something to behold as well, and just keeping it all encapsulated into this kind of
nice and constructive.
Nice and constructive into this kind of mansion
in the gardens and
in the garden,
the lab,
And the amount that you actually
and
had.
the shark.
The shark and the remake terrified me.
Yeah.
It was this bizarre steroided shark that just was horrifying. But the amount of stuff they fit in the game is in terms of like puzzles and the actual story taking you through all these different environments and different stages was very like big at the time, particularly.
It's very classic, like kind of B movie story as well, with like special forces team going in.
Good old special forces kind of B-movie without that.
Second special forces.
Looking for the first special forces team.
I've never seen an assignment like this, Chief.
Yeah, with entering a mansion with zombies and monsters and everything like that, and covering all these untangled threads of betrayal and it's glorious.
Corporations gone mad.
Yeah, pretty much creating biological weapons.
But that's the thing. That's what kind of makes it really interesting, because it's the same story that they used for the remake. Obviously, it's so cheesy in the original, but using the same beats and just making it serious,
Completely reacting it.
completely changing the tone of how they did it. Just shows that original story had some really good ideas.
I was happy that Shinji Mikami got to go back and redo that one, which was I think obviously that's what he wanted it to be, but obviously just never got around to.
Constrained by what was available at the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the remake done some absolutely fantastic, like added a lot of different things, like gameplay wise. You had defense items. So if you got caught by a zombie, you'd stab them in the neck or chuck a grenade.
It was like an auto escape option. Really.
Chuck a grenade in the mouth and shoot it.
Oh yeah,
that was Chris's one.
Yeah,
Jill had a taser.
Yeah, that was right.
Yeah, and then obviously adding the Crimson Heads in, that scared the crap out of me.
But that also was another thing to like one of the
Burn everything.
One of the great things that you said about Resident Evil that was really interesting was the survival aspect, because you had to ration ammo. You had to ration what you had. You didn't have to necessarily engage everything. It was just about getting past it and reserving what you had.
You were running away a lot.
But that was another thing to quantify, because you had a lighter and you only had a certain amount of fluid and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And you had to quantify that, and it made it even more challenging, because if you killed a zombie, that wasn't enough anymore.
Yeah.
Because it would come back even stronger unless you burnt the body.
Or decapitated it.
Yeah, so if you did decide to take something out, you then had to use another resource to stop it from killing you.
Yeah, if you ever had to come back into that room.
And there's limited kerosene as well, so you couldn't burn every single zombie. Believe me, I tried.
I tried to raze it to the ground.
Yeah. My playthrough of Resi 1, when it came out on PlayStation 4, took me so long because I was so like careful of like just like I was like, okay, I have to burn that body, and then all the time I wasted on that, I just could have just been dodging them. But
we're all specialists, super intelligent operatives ready to do this. What are you doing? I'm just going to start a fire in this old mansion.
Sound logic. But yeah, Resi 1 holds a very special place in my heart. It was that kind of like game that I was, when you were young, you felt like
you're just drawn to.
Yeah, you felt like you shouldn't be playing it and stuff like that. And like
everyone I know played it because their dad.
Terrified.
Yeah, everyone I know it played it because their dad had it.
My dad got it, and it was I kept like kind of peeking through.
Did your dad ever hide games?
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
Like, no.
I found like the X-rated was it Sega Mega Drive games like hidden in the cloak stand, and it was like MK2, and I was like, oh my god.
The dark secret. It's only Crash Bandicoot. How dare you hide this from me?
So yeah, my dad got Resident Evil, but after Resi 1 he didn't pay attention to it, but then at that point I was fully hooked in, and I was just like, I love this series, and I was
So actually, like your dad just walked past, he just heard like that. He's like, he's never getting hired again. And you're like, oh my god, it's so tense.
it's so tense.
Another great credit before I forget to the remake was they added actually new elements to the story.
Yes, they did.
That entire new section to it.
Yeah, which was really, really good. It was all about the architect's family of the Spencer Mansion. And they were living in the Spencer Mansion, and Spencer was like, "Oh yeah, you could totally just live in there; it's fine." But then he started like experimenting on them and everything.
And there's a lot of logs that are really creepy if you read.
Yeah, very creepy. But yeah, Resi 1, very, very, very good game. And then followed up by probably my favorite sequel of any game ever.
But to be honest, Resident Evil 2 was the one that made it really big, though.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 1 was, the game that made quite a lot of money for them and built them a name. But Resident Evil 2 was the one that was the mainstream game.
Because it threw in more diverse characters from compared to the original Resident 1, and more interesting setting. It was a dynamic setting moving through the city, and a lot more action-based and a lot more familiar to... kind of zombie films, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it became a lot more mainstream.
Yeah. Well, they actually hired George A. Romero to direct the adverts for Resident Evil.
I remember that.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. Most people I know started with Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
That's the one my dad actually played.
Yeah. I think I've gone through them all in chronological order.
Wasn't you played them when they came out? Or?
Yeah, well, as when they came out, I remember. I think I got Resi 2 a bit late. I think I got Resi 2 just before Resi 3 came out. But yeah, Resident Evil 2, my personal favorite. It's how sequels should be done. It's just bigger, better, gives you a hell of a lot more.
And they essentially did double the work because it's two perspectives, two discs, two perspectives of the same story.
They had it was four scenarios. So at the start, you got your two characters, Leon and Claire, and basically there's a situation where it splits them both off in different directions. So if you finish off one character scenario, you get their second scenario, and then vice versa. So pretty much it's like 4 times the game in one, with mini games chucked in galore.
Yeah,
and like you said, setting is just it's just
Raccoon
bigger.
City Police Department.
Bigger, better.
Right.
The story's really good.
And they all meet different characters that all have really interesting stories as well.
Yeah, so like Claire meets up with Sherry, who's the daughter of William Birkin, who created the G virus, and then Leon meets up with Ada Wong, who says she's a reporter, but she's not, and she's a spy, and she's looking for a sample of the G virus.
Yeah, so but their stories interlink as a result.
Yes.
Like especially on Birkin's sort of family. There's these hinging points where it just overlaps.
Yeah,
like Crash.
Spoilers.
So yeah, Resi 2 just took everything Resi 1 was and just made it bigger, better.
And also the days though of double discs.
Oh, double
good old
discs.
days.
Final Fantasy quadruple discs.
It's good. So a bit of trivia now. So at this point, Resident Evil were looking to go into like the kind of next generation kind of consoles, which was the Dreamcast. So they were wanting to do the next numbered one on that, but with the deal they had with Sony, Sony was like, no, you need to produce a numbered title for our system.
They were contractually obliged to.
Contractually obliged. So they'd already started work on what was going to be the next sequel.
Code Veronica!
Yeah, Code Veronica. But after that, but after obviously the thing with Sony, they had to push what their side project was at that time to be the third game, which was Nemesis. And Nemesis is a really good game. It's a very
It didn't innovate anything.
It
though,
didn't
really.
It reuses a lot of the assets from Resi 2. doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it reuses a lot of assets, and it also, like you said, it doesn't do anything kind of new apart from obviously the branching. There's kind of branching story points.
Yeah.
So you're given a choice of two different.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Things to
And
do.
the Nemesis, obviously.
And Nemesis, which was a great addition.
But that's more a presence in the game rather than a gameplay. It's not really a mechanic; it's a set piece.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It only it shows it's scripted when it shows up,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's not
Yeah.
random.
yeah, but.
How it acts can be
Yeah,
different. 'cause
how
it's-
Yeah.
how it acts can be different, and like it depends on what kind of choices you make. It depends on when he shows up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was reading over something for Resi 3, and it was to do with the music and the music cues they have for it, for Resident Evil's, or for Nemesis's theme. They start playing that at just random points.
Okay.
And he might show, he might not.
Oh,
Just,
really? So-
yeah, just to kind of throw you off,
Yeah,
off
just-
guard. And the whole concept of Nemesis was actually to do with, apparently there was a lot of like stalker
Stalker crimes or
stalker crimes in Japan at that point.
Oh, bloody hell.
So Shinji Mikami,
Hitting close to home?
Yeah, Shinji Mikami was. I kind of want that. So having that kind of constant paranoia, which is something that Resi 3 did really well. It just kept you on the edge of your toes, and it told that story. And like it happens a day before and a day after Resident Evil 2,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then at the end,
It creates a Jill sandwich.
That ends with the nuke of
Raccoon
isn't it?
City gets wiped off the map. And then we don't know where the series was going to go after that. But then it shifted onto the Dreamcast with Resident
The
Evil.
immortal Dreamcast.
Yeah, with Resident Evil Code Veronica.
Or Code Veronica X, the 10th in the series.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, it's a really good game.
It really is. I played on the GameCube when it was re-released.
Yeah, it was one of the points. I remember being so excited for that game coming out, and I got it on my PlayStation 2, and I played the first little section, and there was this tiny little vent on the floor, and there was a guy hanging out of it, and it got dragged under, and I was like, oh no, there's something underneath this, and I started walking, and I just went, nope. Switched on.
Like what we did with Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
We're too scared, we're done. Put something happy on.
So we just switched it off, but I finally managed to conquer that game. But as far as story goes for Code Veronica, it's probably one of the best in the series.
It's jam packed with so many different things that
Yeah.
are pivotal to the
I
story.
loved it.
Yeah, instead of making it this kind of grand, big sort of set piece, so based around just fighting off zombies and stuff like that, or like evil corporations, it chose to focus on the bloodline of the Ashford family, and like a kind of decaying bloodline, and it was kind of like a twisted madman, obviously. Alfred Ashford's pretty much orchestrating the whole thing, and basically just trying to resurrect his sister, but he injects her with a virus and tries to keep her alive, and then she turns into something absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And it brought back Claire, and it brought back Chris as well.
Chris as well.
Yeah,
The second act.
yeah, second act with Chris, and God, it went from Europe to Antarctica.
Antarctica, yeah.
And
And think about how long it was till we actually. That was because Wesker was the villain in the first one, but think about how many years there were in between and how many games until they addressed the main threat of the series.
Yeah.
Umbrella Corporation and Wesker.
yeah, until it comes back like all full around to it, and it's a really powerhouse story, and there's an absolutely epic fight at the end with Chris and Wesker.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it also made Steve.
It did make Steve, and
It made Steve, and
But-
he is one of the worst things to happen in that series.
but they killed him.
I'm sorry, Claire. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have two golden Lugers or something?
Yeah, he had two golden Lugers,
Camo pants and a ginger and like this ginger hair.
Like he's. Well, like he has the two golden Lugers, but you need them for a puzzle, so you go get him some. You get him some like Tech 9s, and you go, there you go, have some Tech 9s instead. And he's like pissing about with that, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go solve this puzzle over here.
He was so annoying.
Yeah,
Such a Steve.
Yeah, such a Steve. Originally, their character dynamic was like the director wanted to make it like kind of like a brother and sister sort of thing, but
sibling rivalry.
But it ended up being obviously a younger boy having a crush on an older woman.
I would laugh if it changed halfway through the game. And everyone's just.
This just got really uncomfortable.
You got the Luke Skywalker treatment.
I know, it just makes it so uncomfortable. I don't know how to feel.
Is there anything else you want to mention about Code Veronica?
No, I just like basically the story. It was a very heartfelt story.
Yeah.
And that, because the story in the first three, for me,
Deviates from the main line.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it was fine, but it didn't. It wasn't the thing that urged me to keep playing.
Yeah.
But when Code Veronica came along, I was like, I really need to keep playing this.
Yeah, and find out what happens. with
because
everything.
again, I played them in such a weird order.
Yeah.
0 was the first one I played. Then I think I played 2 because there was a re-release of 2 on the PS2. Was there, or did that come later? Or am I
Resi 2, no. The Resi 2 remake has been announced and it is happening.
not a remake or re-release. It's exactly the same, but you could play
GameCube.
It was GameCube. It was GameCube.
yeah.
That was it. Yeah.
If you could play 1, 3, and 5 one after the other, would that tell the story? No, 1, Veronica, and 5. Would that be the story just there in those games? Because that's the vital story.
Yeah,
that's the start, middle, and end.
Chuck in 2. Because
Well, the
kinda.
G virus is kind of superfluous. That's the problem with it. I mean, it had a great story, but
It's
at the end
essentially
of
an
the
offshoot.
day, it could be excluded and not.
Yeah,
not matter.
I understand the Raccoon City thing's
The same-
pivotal to this story.
The
But
same with 4. I mean, 4 was great,
Yeah.
but the Lost Plagueis Parasite and all that's all
yeah.
an offshoot completely. So
It is.
So Veronica was the first one I played. Sorry, no, 0 was the first one I played properly. Then I played 2 when it came out on the GameCube. Then I played Veronica.
Yeah.
Then Resi 4.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever played 3 myself.
3. 3's always one I struggle to play through, and I don't know why.
you also have a soft spot for Jill Valentine. Though.
I do have a shot.
You did say that would be your perfect woman.
Yeah.
Jill Valentine.
Dave would like to give a big shout out to Claire. He really likes Claire.
I love Claire.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know, Mark's wife is also called Claire. Safe answer, Mark
Safe
Jeffrey.
answer. So, moving on. Now, Capcom weren't really too sure what to do with the next entry, and so their first attempt ended up actually turning into Devil May Cry.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you? There's also footage. There is also. Yeah. It's not done yet. So there's actually other attempts.
There's other attempts. There was 2 more attempts as well. So the first one was Devil May Cry, and then after that they did, which is now dubbed like Resident Evil 3.5,
which was a sequel to Gaiden, the Game Boy Color game that no one played.
yeah. At the end of Gaiden, Leon gets infected with the virus. And
Well, it's a new version of the virus.
T-virus.
It's a new version of the virus.
New version of the T virus, and then in this one, you're in the castle of Oswald E. Spencer, and pretty much you're trying to
You're tripping out.
You're tripping balls, basically. So you're fighting off kind of like hallucinations and
It's
also
like
other
mannequins coming to
Yeah.
life. And
So
things
it
like
was
that.
kind of like they were
Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were trying to drift more down the Silent Hill kind of route.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
Psychological
Yeah.
and physical horror.
Yeah.
But they also realized having that plot thread would maybe not work because it relied heavily on a game that very few people had played.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much. And then the other one was, I think, just a retouched up version of 3.5 as well, until they were like, no, we kind of need to sort of step.
Surface.
So at what point in this whole production cycle did that Biohazard trailer come of Leon running away from the mist? Was that
That was before the hallucinations.
okay? So
Yeah.
that's what became Gaiden.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, Gaiden was the Game Boy Color game. That's
Yeah.
what became one of their tech things.
Oh, okay, so the mist is what became 3.5.
Yeah, essentially.
What's it
Yeah.
called? Just 3.5.
It's just 3.5.
People
yeah.
just name it 3.5. It never had an official name. It
Does it
was
actually
going to
exist?
before.
No.
It was
Okay,
just
so
a
it's never
tech. It
released.
was a
Yeah,
tech
it
demo,
was a-
essentially.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So yeah, and so they basically it's like, okay, we kind of have to step back.
And they create 4 as a jumping on point as well, essentially.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. Shinji Mikami came back as director. He was like executive producer and like creative consultant for 2, 3 in Code Veronica. But so he comes back in for 4 and completely and utterly changes the
Formula.
The formula.
For the better.
For the better, and also possibly changing
Action
the
games, yeah.
third person shooter for decades to come.
Completely.
Yeah, it
I
is.
remember the marketing for that. The marketing push for that was so big.
Yeah,
Before.
I remember. Yeah, I remember playing 4 for the first time and like playing it, and I was like, "This isn't a Resident Evil." Like
Yeah.
it just didn't feel like a Resident Evil at all. But I kept playing it, and I kept playing it, and I kept playing it, and after I think about second or third playthrough, I was like, "I get this. I completely get this game now."
It's a fantastic game. It's extremely well made. I'm sure everyone will agree that's played it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you said, the only thing that was Resident Evil about it was the title.
Yeah,
And
and-
Leon and Ada.
Yeah.
That's all there is to do. There's
Pretty
nothing
much.
in it.
There's a mention of Umbrella later on in the story. But,
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's so like, oh, I'm doing this all for Umbrella's sake. Why? Oh, that's not important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But that's why to me it was so successful, because
Yeah.
it's a completely separate game. It doesn't have all those hang-ups of
Continuity.
what is a great game series overall,
Yeah.
sure, but it just takes everything away and just like
Yeah.
I'm my own thing.
Yeah.
Let's see if this works, and it did.
yeah, it's a very kind of like over the top kind of actiony kind of story.
Oh,
yeah.
well, no, you don't say over the top yet. It'll get worse as we continue.
yeah. So it's like so Leon's now a special special forces agent now, and he's been commissioned by the president to rescue his daughter, who's been kidnapped by terrorists in Spain.
Well, no, it's not necessarily Spain. It's unnamed, but they do speak Spanish.
Yes, yes, they do.
It's a lot less sunlight than Spain.
But yeah,
Mexico.
yeah. But the game was still terrifying at
Yeah, yeah.
points as well, and like changing the zombies out for infected humans. Like originally, I was like, "Nah, I'm not. This isn't Resident Evil. This isn't zombies." But like, it was good. It was like made them smarter. They thought like they could. Like I aimed at a few of them and they dodged my
Dodgy,
shots.
yeah.
Yeah,
and
they
stuff.
reacted.
They reacted, and like the types of enemies you got in that game were just outstandingly good.
Well, I mean, changing up the camera angles and the way it played
Yeah.
added. I mean, it's definitely more action horror than survival horror.
Yeah.
Than because you're always fully stocked. There's never a point in that game
Yeah.
where you're like, oh crap, I don't have any ammo.
Yeah.
Unless you sucked.
Yeah,
By changing the camera angle, like you can only see what was ahead of you. You never knew what was coming from behind you.
Yeah.
There's no radar or anything like that, so anything could.
yeah. Anything could sneak up
Yeah,
and grab
you,
you.
you could be exploring a house and suddenly something gets you from behind,
Yeah.
which look from the original Resident Evils with the pre-rendered backgrounds, like you said, it was gorgeous.
Yeah.
and it really added to the tone of the game. But you could always see everything.
Yeah.
unless you change the screen and you come
Yeah.
in face to face with the zombie. But that was few and far between.
Hmm.
But the new perspective for Resi 4 really added to the horror.
It
for me.
refreshed the series.
Yeah.
It's not as horrifying as in, oh god, I need to manage my resources, oh how am I going to
Yeah.
survive this, but it was more in the moment
Yeah.
scary.
It's also the best inventory system they've ever had
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
series, where an
The
item,
attack-
everything's done by size, and you have a grid system
Yeah,
to fit
so
into.
attach a case is it was kind of almost like a little mini game in itself.
Trying to rotate things to slot them in to make
Yeah.
be most efficient.
Yeah.
Where am I going to put my golden chicken egg?
It's really interesting because in the original one, in the old Resident Evils, what was really interesting was the ability to analyze stuff you had.
Yeah,
And being
that-
able to rotate them, move them, and
Yeah.
combine
Yeah.
them and things like that. And it was kind of
Yeah.
a way of continuing that idea of exploring the items you have in a different way.
Yeah, and I think I lost a lot of time like organizing my attache case, just like so all the weapons were on one side, all the health was on the other, grenades and stuff were in the middle.
And then you get one new item, you're like, oh crap, where do I
God.
put this? Now I have to do it again.
Stupid broken butterfly with your weird shape.
The weapon upgrades, the merchant in Resi 4.
How many people?
What are you buying?
How many people? How many people killed the merchant first time they saw him?
Oh yeah, he terrified me. I shot him straight in the
He's
face.
scarier than any of the actual enemies. Why would you do that? Why would you have a guy
he's
who is
so
literal-
good. He's so good.
He's the guy that you need to rely on, but he's more terrifying than everyone else you deal with, and he's Australian. You can't trust an Australian person.
He wasn't Australian. He was like English. He was like
He's from South London, mate.
Is he?
What are you
dear
buying?
God.
What are you buying?
Either way, you can't trust him.
I'll buy that at a high price.
Another credit that game deserves and shows how influential it was. Well, no, two credits. One, even though Eco was the first, that game was the one that really pushed the washed graphics aesthetic.
Yeah.
Like the way that everything, like color was kind of just being removed from the whole thing.
Yeah.
There was no real bright colors. It did start that Resident Evil 4 started a lot of bad trends though, and that was one of them. The other one was QuickTime events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the way that the QuickTime events were handled in Resi 4 were good.
So many deaths.
Run away from the boulder. Mash, 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 mash. Triggers.
But you always miss the triggers first time.
Yeah, the knife fight with Krauser as well.
Oh, God.
I had to get the first two, and then the second one, or the first two, and the third one, I just get sliced.
It was literally you just retry it and then add a button to each attempt.
It took so long to do that fight. But yeah, Resi 4, best in the series.
Yeah.
I would say. Such an
Most standout.
yeah, such an influential game, and it's not my favorite, but it deserves all the props it gets. It is a fantastic game, and you should definitely play it.
But that got a lot of people into the series.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think people who liked that game though would be able to go back.
That's my
as
point.
easily.
It reinvigorated the series, but allowed it to move forward.
Yeah, which brings us now on to what continued on from that, which was we liked the action side of things of this action.
Call of Duty does well.
Yeah,
that was what the director said.
Yeah, Call of Duty does well. So in 2009, we got Resident Evil 5. And Resi 5...
Which, ironically, was the last one that I played.
Yeah. Which, it's...
Solid, mate.
It's a solid action game. It's a really good action game. It's pretty much a carbon copy of Resi 4. But just HD'd up in modern consoles.
Yeah.
And it's... Yeah, it gave us co-op as well, which is good, but if you were trying to go for the horror element of things, adding co-op just...
But
Dilutes it.
there wasn't much horror. in
Yeah,
that
there wasn't
game.
much horror.
You always had your machine gun. You could just mow everything down.
It was more of an action game.
It was much more of an action game. I mean, like I say, it was the last one I played because it completely... I lost interest in the series after that.
It kind of
because-
took the magic away, didn't it?
Yeah. The story, even though, like you say, it's a significant part of the story.
Yeah.
It didn't end it enough for me, and I've got great memories of playing that in my flat with my flatmate at the time. Just sat on the sofa in our underwear playing co-op.
Yeah.
Great times, but that's the last memories of Resident Evil for me.
Yeah.
And it was the concluding chapter to the main story.
Yeah, not even in memory of Chris punching a boulder. No.
That's two of my favorite things about this game, because I say it's my favorite because I hate the game. And you know that I hate the game.
I use it ironically.
But my favorite things about it are, one, the difference between if you have two pictures side by side, one of Chris Redfield in Code Veronica and Chris Redfield in Resident Evil 5.
Steroids!
And it's literally, he's eaten multiple cows,
A day.
but he lifted them all before he ate them to
Deadlift.
achieve that mass where everything can be solved. And before, like, the puzzles that you used to get in Resident Evil, but then everything can be solved with a punch now.
Pretty much everything could be
Don't
solved
worry,
with a punch.
Chris, you can punch it.
As far as I remember, a lot of the puzzles in Resi 5 were just collecting items and putting them in doors.
Yeah.
And I think there was one where you had to...
Fetch quest.
Yeah, I think there was one he had to angle like a laser to hit a certain point.
Oh, is this that temple?
Yeah, that temple puzzle. And
I came into the room and I was like, Gary, you were in an African village. Why are you in this bizarre Aztec temple now
don't
fighting
know.
these tribes people?
I don't know. And so, yeah, Resi 5 was a complete departure from what was Resident Evil, what made Resident
The
Evil.
word subtlety
Great.
can't be used at any point in that game. But my favorite thing, other than Chris Redfield, was the really well thought out inventory system from before. Each item is its actual size. Everything has a place. It's like a puzzle, an intelligent puzzle where you have to take these things and find a way to work around. Was replaced by a 9-slot system where 9 rocket launchers take up the same space as 9 eggs.
Yeah.
Logical.
Yeah, logical. Logical stuff.
Ridiculous.
The infantry system was... and also they tried to add that bit of tension as well, where you couldn't pause to like look at your infantry. You had to like pretty much like...
On the fly.
On the fly for it.
The game gave the audience no credit.
I was going to say before you jump into that, because Resident Evil 4 was great, and like you're saying, it spawned like there was the pioneer of that new movement system and all that, which spawned so many other games.
Yeah.
Including the greatest Resident Evil game, Dead Space.
Yeah, Dead Space.
Which was like
Yeah.
that took so many great things. It's Resident Evil in space.
Yeah, it's Resident Evil in space, but it's great.
It's one of my favorite games.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And it took that it took the gameplay style and controlling of Resi 4, took the exploration and map building and maneuvering of like Metroid series of Metroid Prime, and then introduced the real-time inventory system. So you could be like, so you projected your inventory as a hologram, you were sorting through it,
was so cool.
suddenly a necromorph jumps out and gets you, which then Resi 5 took and just
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So so after that complete sort of misfire with Resi 5, we move on to one I'm going to give a special mention to, which is Resident Evil Revelations, which was it's a spin-off title.
Is that the one on the boat?
Yeah, it's one on the boat.
I played that one on the
yeah.
I'm on the boat.
It came out.
I played the demo on the 3DS.
Yeah, 3DS. It came out in 3DS first in 2012, and then it got ported to the PS3 and Xbox 360.
Yeah, it's got a cult following as well.
It really does, because it takes a step back.
It goes back to 4's style of things.
It goes back to
Well,
It goes back to 4 style of things,
Yeah.
but it's more. It does the whole. It nails the atmosphere on this boat. It gives you a menacing kind of new enemy, which is like the T-Abyss kind of zombie things, which is pretty much like people, but like fish kind of thing. It looks freaky as fuck, and it makes it more old school, and it gives you like more of a survival horror experience, which. That
been lacking for some
it's
time.
been lacking for some time, because I mean, like, all the games that came out in between Resi 5 and Revelation. So you got the Dark Side Chronicles, which was a light gun game.
It was a real shooter.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that was on the Wii. Yeah,
They made two of those.
yeah.
got
You got the Mercenaries 3D, which came out in the 3DS.
Yes, I've got that.
And all the other ones after that as well. So you had like sort of Dead Aim and Outbreak File 2. And
was that the online one?
Yeah.
Outbreak was an amazing idea that wasn't executed well. Like playing as a survivor who can get infected in Raccoon City and having to escape the city before it all happens, but it was so poorly executed.
I played that for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Only one I've got. Shout out.
It had
Good input, Irv.
Yeah.
thrown this out there.
Yeah. So, but yeah, back to Revelations. So it gave you limited ammo, and you were thinking about things again, and you got some good puzzles in it, and the story was really good. It was sort of split off into two kind of sections, with Jill's part and Chris's part, and it had like some flashbacks in it, giving you a bit more information about everything. And I remember the last boss in that game, and it's a tyrant. It is an actual like tyrant from
The original.
like, yeah, it just reminded me of that, and it felt like a final boss, and it was so hard, and like you took it down, and you're like, yes, this is awesome.
And it actually was so successful it got a PS3 port, didn't it?
Yeah.
Eventually. Like, it actually got ported up to console.
Yeah, it actually got ported up to console, and but that's when I played it, was the console versions, and
And now it's its own series.
yeah, it's just the spin-off series, which is trying to stay true to its
Because their
originals.
mentality now is that each main numbered series is how they try new stuff. They try and push it away from what it was.
Yeah, which leads us on to Resident Evil 6.
The one which, has anyone here played this other than
Nope.
Gary? No.
Like I said, I stopped it.
Take it home, Gary.
Take it home. I will sell this game to you.
All aboard the hype train.
All aboard the hype train.
Woo woo!
Now, do you know what made Resident Evil 2 really cool? Was that interweaving storylines.
Oh, the crash narrative.
Yeah, the crash narrative with all the different characters. Well, instead of having 4, let's have 7 characters and have and have 6 scenarios for the main one and a bonus scenario with the other one, and weave everything together, and it'll become this big, massive mess.
Throw some shit at a wall and see what sticks.
Pretty much so.
I had breakfast with Gary after he completed it, and Gary told me the story, and then after asking about 30 odd questions, I still couldn't understand what he was saying.
Do you know, like, I can,
So she's a morphed clone. Yeah, Gary, that makes no sense.
there's like
You're clearly a madman.
yeah,
and that
there's like a
bacon's gone
clone.
to-
It's like a clone of Ada and stuff like that. But like each scenario takes like 2 characters, and you have co-op and everything like that. And they try different like gameplay styles with each one. So like Leon's one is kind of tailored to be a bit more classic Resident Evil with a bit more like focused on horror, and it's got zombies in it. The Chris's one, straight up action, balls to the wall,
All American hero.
all
Chris
American
Redfield.
hero. And Jake and Sherry's campaign is it's a weird one because they try to incorporate what made Nemesis really good, and you've got this thing
creeping
called,
horror.
Yeah, it's called like the Ustanak, I think it is, and it basically stalks you throughout the whole game.
Yeah.
But it's not like oh, I don't know when he's going to sort of turn up. But this thing is like pretty much scripted, and I just didn't like that scenario at all. Like the best scenario is Leon's by far, but it's like
it does sound pretty cool trying to put in all those elements, but just when it turns into a mess for you.
Yeah, it's pretty much. It's a lot of good ideas, but it is just throwing things at a wall and just hoping that something sticks. And
especially if it's just tailored for like, we're going to get all the demographics, they're all going to love this, and it's just like no.
But then one person likes one element but doesn't like another, and so the execution's just
especially if you only like one element out of like 4 different
7.
elements. Yeah, 7. Yeah.
I like a 7th of this game.
Yeah.
And it's a very forgettable game.
It didn't do particularly well though, I don't think.
No,
that's why
it's considered the worst.
Yeah.
Well, it's the series is kind of stalled there, hasn't it?
Yeah,
I think it underperformed.
It doesn't know what to do. However, after that, we got Revelations 2, which came out last year.
I'm not sure if that sold particularly well either.
It didn't sell particularly well, but it got really good reviews, and it's a great game. It's a really, really good game. It's a very self-aware game. It knows exactly what it is, and it takes the tropes from the first Revelations and just expands on them, and gives you Barry back. Love Barry. And Barry.
Mark, you'd make a good Barry.
Yeah.
You look like you'd make a good Barry.
And with all the Jill Sandwiches and Masters of Unlocking.
It's all cheesy. He had the worst lines.
He really did.
If you took him out, the game could have been so much better.
Honestly, you could like put all of Barry's lines together and it would just be amazing. Yeah, but Revelations 2, very good game. Very good game. It's just a classic kind of Resi 4 kind of style game, but it adds a little bit of co-op, and you've got 2 characters where one's like kind of like your offensive melee character, which is like Barry and Claire, but then you got your support characters, which is Barry's got this small girl that is kind of like a telepath, and she can kind of see the enemies through walls.
This sounds like Siren. Sounds like Siren.
Yeah. And so use her to kind of pinpoint your enemies and take them out. And Claire's got Barry's daughter Moira, and all she can use is a flashlight. And so she can blind the enemies, so stun them, and she can obviously highlight items that you need to pick up and stuff like that.
So you've got a support character, and then your general character.
Yeah. So you can play as co-op, but which I haven't actually tried that one co-op yet. But
would it be that fun having a flashlight? Lighty.
Yeah, but you can switch between both characters, and it brings back the partner zapping from 0, and it's a really. I was very surprised with that game. Very good. So it's weird that spin-off ones are kind of staying true in the ones.
It's a very flawed series overall.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Like,
it's got amazing hits, but there's also some really odd missteps.
Yeah,
There's also a lot of missteps.
A lot of missteps.
A shame though. It's like when they're trying new and different things, but just like when it's
but it's
just
not
failures.
loyal to its own past. That's the thing.
Yeah.
What about it's been a while now then, so 3 years, and there's still no word of 7.
It's been 2012, so there's been no word of 7. Don't know what it's going to be, but we've got two games on the horizon. We've got Umbrella Corp, which is a tactical based shooter based in the Resident Evil universe.
Yeah, this is their multiplayer.
Yeah, they're multiplayer focused third person shooter based in the Resident Evil universe. So I don't know how that's going to be.
Resident Evil has this issue where they keep trying to latch onto what's popular, though.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is their problem.
Yeah.
And hopefully, because horror is becoming quite popular
Yeah.
again right now,
Yeah.
that could be a trend in the right direction.
But the thing I'm looking forward to is the Resident Evil 2 remake.
It's a complete remake, though, isn't it?
Complete remake, but is being done by the same guys that did the Resi 1 and Resi 0 remakes. So I have a lot of faith.
You trust them?
I trust them. I really, really
Trust them implicitly.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that one. Should be good fun.
Good times.
Yeah. So yeah, Resident Evil.
Retrospective.
Isosceles triangle.
Gary's wild ride through the ups and downs of the Resident Evil series.
So tune in next week for
Our first game analysis comparison.
yes
We
Mark
need
is
a
not in
proper
charge
name.
of coming up with a
We
name.
need a proper
of the
name for
segment.
this.
Game Club. Game Club. Let's call it the Game Club.
Game analysis club segment.
Revelations 2.
Might as well start with a sequel, because that way,
Yeah.
So it seems tried and true.
Yeah. So tune in next week where we are going to be. We've all played through or are currently playing through
Spec Ops.
Spec
Line.
Spec Ops: The Line. So we're going to give our thoughts and
Go into that.
thoughts on that game.
It should be interesting.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
See you then.
See you later.
Fiddling with all these different syllables, but it just makes like isosceles. What are words to use?